Hi, and welcome back to Naturally Recovering Autism. If we haven't met yet, I'm Karen Thomas, and I wanted to make sure that I answered any questions that you might have remaining about the four-stage process that I used to recover my own son from his symptoms of autism, even when I was told it wasn't possible. And the all-natural approach that I developed has now been in my Naturally Recovering Autism membership program for 9.5 years strong, and it is in over 40 countries worldwide, having immense success for parents worldwide. So I wanted to make sure that you know that enrollment to the program is now open right now until Thursday night, October 23rd at midnight. So that's soon. And so if you haven't joined yet, make sure you go to naturallyrecoveringautism.com/go. Learn all the specifics of what the program offers you, how I walk you step by step through every single thing you need to do in a sequential order. And it is very thorough. We are A to Z. And that is very purposeful. If you only do a portion of what is needed for your child for autism recovery because you just don't know what else there is to do, and that could be why you're here now, is that you've been trying a lot of things for a long time and you really haven't quite gotten the results you hoped for. And you're knowing that there's something else that you can do, but you don't know what it is. I cover that in my program, because I have been researching autism for 19 years, since my son was diagnosed 19 years ago. But I also have been doing craniosacral therapy, studying the brain for close to 38 years now. And so I have immense background and knowledge in research and science behind the brain, diet, detoxification, and then specifically in the last 19 years for autism. Because autism is very, very different than anything else. And it runs very close to the lines of an autoimmune illness. So we have to be very cautious and careful and move forward safely in the process. Even changing your child's diet, you might notice heightened symptoms, because as we starve out the candida and parasites and bad bacteria in there, they're no longer having the food they're thriving on, which is one of the reasons why your child's probably craving all of the bad foods that I gave in my download for the event we just had in day one. And those, of course, it's gluten-free and casein-free for gluten and dairy, but there are processed carbohydrates you need to remove also, because they turn to sugar in the body. And of course, anything with sugars, and of course, fruit, minimize it, because if you're feeding that candida or those parasites and other pathogens, they're going to keep thriving. So and they also, those things cause a lot of inflammation in the gut. And so we want to get rid of those things so the inflammation can go away, not only in the gut, but on the brain, which is why you see the symptoms that you see: lack of ability to focus, speech issues, maybe they're not sleeping well, they get sick a lot. There are all of the things that go along with autism, and they're basically a whole group of symptoms. And if you're still wondering, how and why that works, I actually did about a year ago, I did an entire podcast and blog post on what causes the symptoms of autism. Because a lot of parents are like, well, I've been on a good diet and done a little detox already, so what else is there? And are you saying that autism isn't something that's genetic, or autism isn't something that can, that they have to live with? And I'm telling you that there are ways to recover from these. And I always say the definition of recovery is to regain health. My son's symptoms today are gone. Some symptoms for your child may remain, but one mom told me recently, she said, I don't even care if my son just still has autism. I just want him to talk to me. And we all know what that feels like. It's just to have your child really connect with you and be able to, be themselves in the world, focus and learn in classrooms, and share their gifts with the world, because they're brilliant. But right now, they probably have so much inflammation on their brain, and the toxins and pathogens are getting in the way of them thinking clearly, sleeping better, speaking. all of the symptoms again that go with autism. And if you want to listen to the podcast and the read the blog post that I did on this, I go into all of the underlying symptoms and how they're compared to what the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, the DSM, uses, or your therapist who is supposed to be, an expert and specializes in autism, who diagnosed your child. That's what they use. Basically, they're looking at the symptoms your child has, and they're looking at the DSM's level 1, 2, or 3. What category do they fit into? And that's basically what they're doing. And so if they fit into those symptoms, then they say, okay, they have autism. But if those symptoms reduce or even removed, they go away, then what is it? It doesn't matter what it is. What we want is our child to live their best life possible, to be able to live a quality life to their full potential, and they deserve that. And I did the podcast. It's actually number 134. So if you go to naturallyrecoveringautism.com/134, you can listen to or read the podcast and the blog post that I did on what causes the symptoms of autism. And you'll see how all of those underlying causes actually create the symptoms that you're going to recognize in your child. And then you'll see the Diagnostic Statistical Manual that I also put there for what they use to diagnose and categorize your child for autism. So beyond that, I did this 3-day event this last week, where in day 1, I covered stages 1 and 2, which are naturally healing the gut, which covers the beginning stages of detoxification, because you want to have some toxin binders and some things in place to sop up those extra toxins, because as we starve out that candida and those other pathogens, they're going to die, which is what we want. And then the body has to get rid of them. Well, that becomes more of a toxic load in the body until they are excreted. And the body, our children with autism have poor detoxification pathways right now that we need to strengthen. So we need to strengthen those foundational pieces. So I talked about strengthening the foundation, how to do that, diet, and what to do with diet. And then starting to make those transitional changes. Even if your child happens to be a picky eater, I gave you some resources on and even links in the download for day 1 for how to transition your child from the bad foods to the good, but also some nutritional resources in powder form that actually taste good, that you can mix into any food right now that maybe they will eat, make a smoothie with, or even just give alone because they actually taste good. But so there's some options and some ways to be creative for that transition. Stage 2, I also covered in day 1, which is natural, safe, heavy metal detoxification. And I even gave the link to what I use in the program so that you can even begin using it now. And I talked about how to begin using it. So make sure if you missed any of the 3 days, the replays are still available on the same page where you can join the membership now. It's all available still to you until midnight Thursday night, October 23rd. So just make sure that you go to that page and review any of the event days, the replays that you want to, and make sure that you see them all so that you really get a good idea of what we do, what exactly needs to happen, and why. And then also that page gives you more information about the program, the membership program, as I also covered more in the day 3 event. And then a link to join the program so that you can join now. And there are a couple of options there, and it's extremely affordable. Yes, for less than what it costs for a cup of coffee a day, anyone can afford this. And it is to help save you time and money, so you're not jumping around from practitioner to practitioner or therapist to therapist anymore, and you have a streamlined roadmap to follow with my personal support. Yes, we have a form inside the program where you can ask me your questions anytime, and I get back to you within 24 hours. It's laid out very simply so that you just follow a sequence, and we cover stages 1 and 2, and then stages 3 and 4 I covered in day 2 of our event. And again, if you haven't seen the replays for the event, and you want to know where to join and learn about it, go to naturallyrecoveringautism.com/go. And it's the same link that's here on the bottom of the screen, and it is there for you until October 23rd, Thursday night at midnight. So make sure that you review any of those replays and join before then, or everything will expire and enrollment will close. And you'll have to wait. And I don't know when it's going to be open again yet. So please, please make sure. I do this because I want to make sure everybody new gets the attention they need, because there are a lot of new members that come in when I do these events and these enrollment periods. And I want to make sure that my bandwidth covers everybody. So those who are serious join. And those are the people that I want to work with. We have an amazing community of people already successfully utilizing the program in the membership. And on the page where the replays and the membership link to join is at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/go. We also have listed some testimonials some members have shared about the results that they've gotten, because I know you want to hear from other people. So read those. And then some members have shared in a video testimonial what it's done for them and how it's been. So listen to those and get a good sense of what this can do for you. And I just did another podcast at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/231. And I interviewed Kara. She's one of the moms in my program, and she has had immense success with her son. And so you can listen to that as well. But again, the replays and the link to join the program and a bunch of testimonials for you to look at and listen to are at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/go. And in day 2, I covered stages 3 and 4. Stage 3 are the co-infections of autism, and they are the most missed parts of any autism recovery process or protocol anywhere. If they are found, because the testing is very inaccurate, or they're not even tested for, but the tests may come up negative when your child's positive, and that can be frustrating to know. Well, how do I know? We go by symptoms, and I gave you a whole lot of symptoms to look at in day 2 for them. So you can look at that. And then we don't want to just throw antibiotics at antibiotic resistant, bugs, basically is what they are, or toxins, because they're antibiotic resistant, many of them. And so I cover, things like mold biotoxins in and around your home. You want to make sure that they're gone, but then how to get them out of the body, because the body doesn't just dispel them. In fact, I talked about how 29% of the world population actually has a genetic defect that does not allow your body to dispel the toxins from mold when you have mold exposure. So you've got to know how to do this. We do this safely and naturally in my program. No drugs are used, and everything we use is very effective. They are for the specific needs of autism. We also have Lyme disease. Close to 100% of children today are said to have Lyme disease. And Lyme can really mimic the symptoms of autism, many of them. And if you see like heavy tantrums, even rageful anger, that can be Lyme, as also possible heavy metals. And I talked about how many of these symptoms will overlap one another with different toxins and pathogens, just like parasites. We work with that. Viruses. They're all very important to make sure that we cover thoroughly, because if we don't, then something important gets missed and your child ends up still having the same symptoms or many of them, and you think, what am I missing? And so this is what we want to make sure that you cover, and what I do in the program. I see a question here, so I'm going to jump in real quick. Your child is recovering in treatment with zinc, D, C, B12 injections, spectrum needs. We detox lead and mercury with glutathione cream. So the question is, should we start zeolites? Also, if we start the program, are we going to be in active contact with you when we need to? So Renee, I talked about this in the event a couple of times, that we have a live monthly call. The whole community comes together and I answer everybody's questions there, but 24/7 you have access to me in the membership forum, and where you ask me your questions, I get back to you within 24 hours there, because everybody over time has the same questions. And if you haven't had that question yet, you'll learn from somebody else asking, because we archive all the Q&A in there, because everybody on the path to recovery will end up having the same question at one time or another. So it's educational for everybody. So I like to answer the questions there so everybody can see the answer. And it is a privacy protected membership site, and it's completely a zero judgment zone. There is no judgment from anybody. Every parent is going through the same thing with their child with autism. And so that is where that I answer the questions. And again, there's no limit to the amount of questions you can ask. The program's set up in a very specific sequential order, so most questions are answered. So, but if you have a question, you just type it into the forum and I get back to you within 24 hours. And then also, if you're already on supplements, like you mentioned, and there's a couple there that I can say could be ineffective at this current time, but I don't want to go into any specifics. But you, at this time, you have already been on supplements for a while, and many parents have when they join the program. So they're like, they wonder, well, how can I know what to do if I join and you've got a sequence? Well, I have a PDF right at the bottom of the supplements page, and where you start even learning about them before the sequential part starts. And there's also, I believe it's also at the bottom of the introduction page to make sure you don't miss it, because it says already on supplements but new to the program, where and how do I begin? So that walks you through with what to do with the supplements that you're already on, and if you should continue on them, and then as you're implementing the new supplements in the program. So those are some answers to your questions there, because we have there is a lot to do. The zeolites that I use, there are a lot of bad zeolites on the market. So if you're referring to the one that I linked to in the program, I don't, I make sure I research things well. That is safe to use pretty much any time. I do like to have a little bit of some toxin binders and things in place, but that is so gentle and safe that you can begin using it right away. Just remember to follow the guidelines that I gave in day one about that when I gave that link to purchase it, so that how to use the product as well, because you want to start things out at their lowest possible dosage. Do that for 2 days really in a row. Then if your child is fine, then increase by whatever it is, one spray with this, one drop with something else, a little bit incrementally each day, more and more, so that you can watch for your child if they're having any symptoms, slow down if they have symptoms, and if they're fine, increase and go ahead and add in a little bit more the next day until you're up to the dosage that you need to be at for your child's age and size. So again, if you want to look at those, listen to those specifics that I gave, they're in day one of the 3-day event that I just did, and the replays are still available, still for a short time, on the same page where you can join the program now, again, at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/go. So you can go and listen to all of those, all 3 days again. And they're not full days. I know everybody has limited time. So I taught each day the event for free for about an hour roughly, and then followed it with some live Q&A. So you can listen to the Q&A, because you will likely have some of the same questions that some of the parents asked, and because you'll again see how many people have the same questions. And so you'll learn from what they asked as well. Just like somebody just learned from the question that I answered for you. So there are a lot of people that, tend to have, the same types of questions or concerns along the way. And that way I wanted to make sure that you can. Looks like Donna, let me see, Donna, see that you just popped a question in there. Is the GAPS diet good to start with a child that has leaky gut and tested high for mycotoxins? So I don't like to talk about any specific diet because they all have some limitations. I go deeper than the GAPS diet personally with mine, because there are other innuendos that you need to know about. And you want to tailor it a little bit more specifically to your child. So there are benefits, yes, to that, of course, but there is more to know. There are some healthy foods that can be triggers, especially like for anxiety triggers, which again will cause sleep disruption. can cause irritability and restlessness and anger, can cause inability to focus. There are things to know about different foods that I do cover on the diet page in the program. There's just way too much to go into a lot of things outside of the program, and it's why I developed the program specifically, because you need the time to implement these things. To just throw a bunch of supplement names at you or links and not know how to use them or when to use them, or throw a bunch of food names out there, or there's more to it. So again, it's why I developed the program. I don't want you to fall short of results, and I want you to know what you're doing. It's an educational program for you as a parent. And as you recall in the presentation, I talked about over and over, statistically, it shows that the results that you get with your child are 50% higher when parents has the knowledge and education with implementation. So, this is where you don't want to just go to a practitioner, get a handful of supplements, and they just say, okay, go home and give your child these. You don't know what they are. You don't know about what the side effects can be. Have you been told to dose up slowly, start one at a time? One mom came home from the doctor, she's in my program, said a long time ago before my program, she said, I came home from them. The practitioner gave me 13 different supplements and start these today. Well, 13 supplements in one day to start. What do you think happened? Yeah, her son went wild. I mean, she said it was like, her words, she said it was like he was having an exorcism. I mean, you cannot do that with a child with autism. You really can't do that with anybody, because you have to slowly prepare the body's foundation, stabilize the detox pathways, and we get eager and want to hurry up and do more faster. But then they can have those detox and die-off reactions and get way worse before they're going to get better. And they're going to have some detox reactions. That's likely and natural. We want to minimize those. And you're going to know how to do that because I educate you on how. And we start with one thing at a time. So you have time to do this. There's no hurrying up. This isn't a quick fix Band-Aid. It's not something that, in a month, your child's going to be fully recovered. No, of course not. It takes time. Will many parents see, changes, I'll say, in the first month? Many do. Some don't for a few months. Everybody's timeline is different for how long it takes before they see differences. So we just keep moving forward and doing everything from A to Z. We don't skip anything important. We follow the sequence, go through it thoroughly. And until you've done it thoroughly and properly all the way through, then we know what is left that we need to work on. Then there's, like I said, stage 4, brain support and repair. And that's important to make sure. I think it's important to do last. Therapies are the most expensive part of any autism, recovery process, I'll say. And in the beginning, your child can't do most of the things asked of them, so they get frustrated. It's hard on their self-esteem, as it once was for my son. I had to pull him out of therapies because he was so frustrated. I then figured it out, which took me a decade, which I'm handing to you in a roadmap so you can save yourself that decade. And I figured it out over time, implemented, and my son never needed to go back to therapies. I've shared that also for other moms in the program. On day 3, I shared a couple of videos that other parents in the program have shared about their child's progress in the program. And one of them, Nantis, talks about how she was spending $95 a week at speech therapy. And, that's what, $380 a month. Just that therapy alone, it wasn't helping. She pulled her son out when she joined the program, started doing the work on the underlying causes, and her son never needed to go back to those therapies either. So that is a savings of over $4,500 a year because she didn't need to go back to those therapies. And now we've worked with the core cause. We're not just trying to teach them how to do something that their brain isn't capable of doing when it's so toxic and inflamed. So we want to make sure we work with those underlying toxins and pathogens and get that inflammation under control. You can also see how these things are very damaging to their health, right? These are all underlying health issues that we need to work on so that they're healthy again, so they can then be happy and those symptoms can go away. So we need to see how we can progress. And yes, I've helped parents with level 3 children go to level 1. I've helped others who have said they've had a professional actually remove their child's diagnosis. And these are people that had worked with other people, other practitioners and their protocols before my program and not gotten results, and they did in my program. So this is why I share this, and that's why they share it with you. It's not just me saying it. And so, will your child keep their diagnosis? I don't know, maybe, but will they be able to live a better life and to more happier and healthier into their fuller potential, whatever that may be for them? In this program, very, very likely. It is likely. And I've seen it so many times. I've helped thousands of parents worldwide. We're in over 40 countries. It's anywhere you can do this, from a phone, a mobile laptop, anything. All you need is Wi-Fi. And that's why even people who are in rural, distant areas and don't have resources around them, you can do this right from home. And you do it at your child's pace. So if you're really busy, which everybody is, and overwhelmed already, you don't need any more of that. This is about helping you to do it. This is where I say you go slow to go fast. Slow down to follow the sequence. It's going to save you so much time in the long run, and it's going to save you so much money. And I just interviewed another mom, and that podcast is going to come out next week, but they had taken a second mortgage out on their home, for things that their child needed. And this is happening all over the place. And it's ridiculous how much I did the same thing. I know I spent well over $150,000 in 10 years. I lost tally after a while on recovering my son, but it was absolutely worth it. The reason I came out of all of that with this, when I had such success with my own son, I thought there's no way I could not share this with other parents. And so it took me a year to put the program together, get all of my tech support and tech help, because I'm not really techie, and get the members, the site put it, all of the things. And so it took a lot to get it together and get the sequence right. Now it's been going for over 9 years, and I've really refined it. I see a question comes in often, or I had over the years, and I thought, okay, I need to make a PDF for that, like help with constipation, or help with what do I do to calm my child now while we're working with the underlying causes that will eventually help them not have those symptoms. Here is a guide for that. So all of those things get answered in one place now, and it's going to save you so much money in the long run. And that's what I want for you, is to get, have support and guidance you need, have a step-by-step specific sequential roadmap to follow. So, and it's all in one place. It's all here for you. And you can join today, again, naturallyrecoveringautism.com/go, and you'll have immediate access. Within 5 minutes, you'll have an email from me with your login details to the privacy protected membership site. And that email will also give you some guidelines on where to begin, so you know what to do when you go into the website. And it's all there for you. There's a start here page and an introduction page to kind of, show you the lay of the land, how to navigate the site and where things are and what to do first. And so those are there for you. If you don't see my email within 5 minutes after you've joined, then write to support. Well, first check your spam folder, because it might have gone in there. That's common. And then if you don't see it, and so if it's there, you don't need to. But if for some reason you don't see it, write to support@naturallyrecoveringautism.com, and we'll take care of you for sure. But within 5 minutes of joining, you will have an email from me, and you can have instant access. So you can start right away, right now. There's no need to wait. And the best time is right now, because I remember those 10 years it took me to figure it out with my son. And I felt like I'm missing part of his childhood. I'm losing part of this. And if your child is older, as parents ask me all the time, because a lot of these kids are getting older, what about my son? He's 21. What about my son? He's 29. Will this help? Yes, it's good for anybody at any age, any level of severity, anyone. So I've absolutely had beneficial results for everybody at different ages, even young or old, and different severities. So absolutely. Amanda, oh, you're very, very welcome, Amanda. My pleasure. I'm so happy that you're here. I really am. I wait to, I know that parents like you have been searching sometimes for years to find me, honestly, to find my resources, whether you found me on Facebook or Instagram or Googling, and my website, my links came up, my podcast, my blog, whatever it was, somehow you found me. And I know there are no coincidences. And you find me when you're supposed to, as you're ready. And I always think of that parable, they say with, the guy is, standing on the roof of his house, and there's a flood and the water's coming up, and up on the house, and he's up there and he's waiting for, help to come. And some guy comes by in a boat and says, jump in, I'll help you. And the guy says, no, 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 God will save me. And then the guy in the boat goes, okay, and he leaves. And then a helicopter comes by and throws down a rope and says, grab the rope, we'll save you. And the guy says, he's standing on the roof and the water's rising. He's, no, 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 God's going to save me. Well, he ends up in heaven and he says, why didn't you come save me? And God said, I did. I sent you a boat and a helicopter. This is like, something that's offered to you right now. Are you seeing it? Does it feel right? Do you, if anything's holding you back at all, please tell me, ask me your questions here now. This is the last Q&A that we'll be doing. The membership closes on Thursday in a couple of days, Thursday, October 23rd at midnight. So I want to make sure that you feel comfortable. I want you to feel comfortable joining. And I don't want you to wait and not get in because you didn't know how to make the decision or you weren't sure of something. So, please let me know, because this is an opportunity that I'm offering for you. And it's bar none the best way that I can help you. Absolutely. Because there is a lot to know, throwing out a supplement here or a little bit of diet information or a little bit of detox information. That's just little bits and pieces. You need a specific roadmap with a direct link to what you need, when you need it, how to use it, and all of that. So I teach you everything, plus cleaning up your home, because home environment protection is very important, because we often have toxins in and around our home continuing to affect our child. Okay, let me jump back because I missed some questions here. See, Amale, my daughter is extremely picky. Her main foods are bread and carbs. That's very common. She won't touch Ezekiel bread and chicken nuggets, but she won't eat homemade ones. I'm worried about her not getting food. She won't do smoothies. So there are some resources I gave you in the download for day one, which are also in the free food guide that I give out if you didn't get the download from day one. autismcheatsheet.com will give that food guide, which gives you the picky eating guide. And there are some ways to help transition your child. For one, you're going to have to stop buying the bad foods so they're in the house. And you can start transitioning them slowly, because those foods aren't really that nutritious anyway. You're wanting to get nutrition in them, but they're also foods that are doing harm and causing inflammation. They're very addictive. As I mentioned in day one, wheat and dairy have casein and gluten, have actual like opiates. They create opiates in the body. So your child's literally addicted to them. Plus the candida, parasites, and other pathogens in the body crave those sugary and processed foods, because that's how they feed themselves. They eat all of the food that we eat anyway. So you've got to work on this. I mean, it's not just going to go away, and you want to get nutrition in. Well, the nutritional resources that are in powder forms that I give on that guide, and again, you got it in day one of the event in your download as well. But that will help to at least get a little bit of nutrition in them now, so that you can help their body to start to be less inflamed and at least get some nutrition in as you're doing the transitions. My doctor doesn't seem too interested in changing my son. We're just keeping him calm. So, and Jenny, I'm glad you kind of worded it that way so that I can clarify too, that we're not trying to change anybody. What we want to do is help our kids be healthy and help them be who they truly are, because right now they have a lot of health issues and they are not calm or can't focus or can't speak because of underlying pathogens, infections, and things that are affecting their brain in specific ways that disallow those things to happen. So we work with the underlying causes, work with them naturally and safely. When those are worked with, then things change. I have many parents who were told their child would never speak, literally were told their child would never speak by an expert professional. And today their child is speaking. Some say my child is speaking endlessly today. And 6 days ago, 6 years ago, we were told my child would never speak. And now they're speaking endlessly. So we don't listen to negative naysayers. We don't, or people like this person probably just doesn't know what else to do. Many professionals do not know what to do, especially for autism. So rather than skipping around, jumping around, going to these appointments that are probably costing you a lot of money and wasting a lot of your time, join the program so I can give you the right resources that you need. We work with these things at the core causal level. And so it's important to make sure that you're knowing what to do so that we can get your son calm and happy but healthy again and work with those causes. We don't want to just drug them or use something to mask a symptom. We really want to find out, okay, well, what's the cause? And we're going to work with A to Z so nothing important gets left out. It will all get covered so that everything important does get filled in there. Donna, you're very welcome, Donna. Amanda, when having a child who will not take pills or supplements, how would you suggest me to give him a binder? So in the program, everything I use is liquid or powder. And if it only came in a capsule, you can open the capsule up and pour it into water. And I even talk about with charcoal, and that's something I was able to just kind of give in the 3-day event. That's more of a mainstream thing you can go get at a health food store. There are 2 binders we use in the program that are liquid and they don't have hardly any taste at all. And you can add them to just a little bit of water and have your child drink the water. And so, there are easier ways to get things in. But for like that purpose, because it is best to have binders away from food so they don't sop up the food, you want them to sop up the toxins. But sometimes we have to mix it in with a tiny bit of like applesauce or something that maybe has a little bit of texture to it, but so your child won't detect the taste of something in it. So usually that's what we can do is powder or liquid form are things that I've found that are very effective. And for the best of the best, they're bioabsorbable also. Some things even are absorbed in the mouth, in the capillaries in the mouth, so basically at the tongue. So they bypass the need for the gut absorption anyway, which is good because children with autism have inflamed guts and leaky gut, and their digestion isn't working properly, so they usually can't absorb most of the nutrition from supplements that require a changeover in the gut. So we do what we can in that way as well. Jill, can you do the program on your own time? Our daughter has mycotoxins, heavy metals, gut issues, fungal and yeast overgrowth. Just learned she has Lyme. Most do. Good for you. It even came up. And 3 co-infections and a rare disease. Do you go over what you recommend first? Very stuck at the moment. So Jill, I want to help get you unstuck because that is the whole purpose of what I do. You have a lot to cover, which everybody does. You're not alone in this. What you have going on with your say son or daughter, with your child is very common. All of those things, and it 100% is done on your own time. You are walking through this sequence step by step, and you only move forward when your child's body is able to handle doing more. If they're doing well on initial 1 or 2 or 3 supplements, and you can either increase a dosage of one you're already on, and I show you how to do that, or add in the next one. But we never do both in the same day because we want to, usually like 2 days apart, so that we know what new supplement or what new dosage is causing any new symptom that might have arisen. That way, we know how to back down and slow down if it's being too much. So that is what we call your child's timeline. Some kids are able to really progress and move forward more quickly because the toxins and inflammation and pathogens and their detox pathways and all things are just, working differently for them than somebody else. So That's how it is, but it's definitely done on your timeline. There's no hurry up, there's no keeping up, and it's why we give you access. Like, this is a whole year of you do it in your stages, in your steps, as you move forward in the sequential order, as it works for your child per their symptoms. So that's why I always say in your child's timeline, and that's what I mean by that. So yeah, absolutely. And we don't want to go too fast because you'll end up with severe die-off reactions, and they can be very unpleasant. So we do things as we can along the way. And yes, I help you along the way. um, uh, Amanda, there is more than one thing. So exactly like Jill just said, there is more than one thing I need to help my son detox from. What's the most important thing that I can begin with? He will not readily accept changes to his diet. So that is quite the open-ended question there. What the most important thing is to begin with, you know. You're cleaning up your home, making sure there's not mold and you're not using toxic agents. You are slowly making transitional dietary shifts. People ask that question all the time too. So is it okay, Karen, if I move forward with the supplements in the program when my child's diet is still bad, basically eating the bad foods, and I've been trying, it's going to take us a while to transition them? The answer is 100% yes. Go forward with the supplements because they're going to help sop up some of the toxins, reduce some of the inflammation, and improve the gut issue at the core cause, so that then the picky eating will start to get resolved a little bit from even the supplements helping, and helping that toxic load that's in there as you're changing the diet itself. So absolutely. I'm not sure, Jill, what link is broken. naturallyrecoveringautism.com/go. That is, everything's working fine on our end. Amanda, your son is 28. If you remember on day 3, I shared Karen's video, and you can go back and listen to it if you missed it. Her name is also Karen, and she is a member in the program. And when she joined, her son was 27 years old. He had been diagnosed at age 2. And she said, we fought so hard. They had done so many things. Nothing was working. She said, we had to try something. So they found my program. He's 28 years old at this point, 6 years later, right? Or 20, he's 27, so it's 25 years later after his diagnosis. And she found the program, thankfully, joined it, and within 2 months, now everybody's different timeline, 2 months, he starts talking and reading books with her for the first time. I mean, it's never, ever too late. Absolutely. And you want to help them at any age. And then Jenny, your son is 21. I know they're getting older. A lot of them are. A lot of kids that were diagnosed with autism a long time ago. Now that you haven't found those results, they're getting older. And this would be, my son's 29. If I hadn't done the work that I had done and knew these answers, then and implemented them, because that's the key too. I can guide you, but you have to implement. If I hadn't done the work that I did, my son would not be living his happy, healthy, independent life to his full potential today. He's a college graduate with a bachelor's degree. He lives 2 hours away from me with his best friend. He rents a room from his buddy who owns the house. He's got a ton of great friends. I mean, he has a full-time great job, fully financially independent, all the things you wish for. And there was a day when I didn't know, when he was a little guy, how his future was going to be. And I know that's your biggest fear too. It's all of our biggest fear. So we want to do the work as much as we can now while we are here with them, to get them to their best that they can be. And it's never, ever too late. There's absolutely, right now is the right time. That's what I always say. Right now is the right time. So jump in, join the program, and get started today. There's no delay at all. I already mentioned why I closed the program, because I want to be here with my bandwidth, because there's a lot of new members that join when we do these enrollment periods. And I want to make sure that I am available answering the questions in the forum. I also mentioned that next week I will be doing a live onboarding call as an extra bonus for the new members. So there are my focus is on the people who have taken the leap and taken action and the commitment to join and do the steps now. I want people to take the step and be ready, and they come in, and then we get started together. So we're all moving forward. So that's the reasoning for it. Um, and Amanda, so and I want you to see you can see that a lot of parents are having the same questions as I talked about how people ask me in the forum their questions and I answer them there, and that is because the most people will have the same questions. You're going to have the same question either now or in the future that somebody else is asking now in the forum, and you're going to read the answer that I'm answering now for them. So when that comes up for you, you're going to go, oh yeah, I remember Karen answered that for that woman or that mom or that dad. So that's why you can see that. Another picky eater, won't eat anything but goldfish, Oreos, and Cocoa Puffs. Will never purchase those anyway. Nobody should ever buy them. Don't have them in your home. They're horrible foods, so stop buying them would be my first thing with that. Chicken strips conventional, so made with gluten. So find some that are either chicken strips are either gluten-free or at least for now in the transition. If they have gluten on them and that's all get some organic ones. So try that. There are ways to transition. Jenny, yes. Amanda, perfect. Thank you. You're so welcome. Um, Renee, the only reservation we have is the communication path between us. We took our child to see Dr. Megson in Virginia. Have you heard about her? No, we didn't even go to have a second appointment because she retired. And we were left hanging when you just started with her. And did she tell you she was going to retire? And did she charge you for that first appointment? Yep. We did a bunch of expensive tests and started on a bunch of things, and now we don't know what direction to go. So many questions, no answers. Oh my gosh. I am so sorry, Renee. This is the type of thing that should never happen to any of us. I don't know why that person would not be honest with you from the beginning, would not show you what to do, would start you on a bunch of things without giving you guidance. Like I said, in the program, if you're already, it says there's a guide that's a PDF guide that says already on supplements, where do I begin and transition into this program? And I find that everyone has not had adequate foundational support, toxin binders, various things that need to be in place initially, and especially things that I use in the program because they're not used outside of the program, most of them. And so, or not at least in the sequences or the specific ones I use. So it's very different from other things that you've been doing, but in a good way. And so I want to make sure everybody still goes back to square one, starts with the first supplement in the sequence in my program and goes through the sequence. And then what that guide really is telling you is make sure your child's doing well on a supplement they're already on. And I show you ways to know a little bit more about that because they might be not doing well on it and you don't realize that could be contributing to their anxiousness or sleep problems or whatever their issues are. And if they do seem to think they're doing well on it, you can keep it and finish it up and then get the specific brand in the program that I will link to. And so that when you replenish, you get that product. Because I know everything that I have in my program has been extremely well researched and by me, by the manufacturing, down to how it is naturally derived, how any contaminants in it, any process, anything that they do with it. I've interviewed the owners of many of the companies. I've gone to lengths and made sure this is the most bioabsorbable type of product of that kind for whatever its need is for children with autism. As I mentioned, some are liquid and they actually absorb in the mouth and they're fantastic. And in over 10 years of, actually well over 10 years now, I've used many of these supplements and not ended up finding anything better. And I continue my research for you so that I can stay abreast and on top of things that are, we need to know about now or could help your child immensely now. And if something comes up and it's that important, I will add it to the program. And put it in there for you so that you know about it and what to do with it. So that is all covered in there. So Renee, I hope you're joining the program. I'm really sorry that happened. And I don't know what people are thinking with these practitioners. Jenny, they said he'd never walk or so on. He's not that way. He's so smart. And I know if I could help him, he'd feel even better. And that is exactly right, Jenny, that he can feel better. And, that's what we want them to be, feeling good, because again, they're the underlying health issues, right? They're not feeling good. They're not healthy. They're not happy. They can't think clearly. They can't speak clearly. Some of them, they can't live to their full potential. And we can get them to that, whatever it may be for them. And you're doing blood work tomorrow, and that's fine, but be aware of a couple of things with blood work. I know it's very traumatic for the kids to be poked with a needle, so be cautious of the stress and the trauma that you notice when you go in for that appointment, and then in the days that follow. And then also know that many tests, I don't know what you're testing for, and you don't need to tell me all of them, but because I can tell you that the majority of tests are inaccurate. If it's just for a nutritional, like, oh, what's their zinc and B level at, or something like that, or copper or calcium, things like that, those are like, okay, yeah, you can find out those levels through testing usually. But a lot of other things like co-infections, pathogens, toxins, a lot of those things are not accurate tests. So if you get a positive, you've got a positive. You get a negative, it doesn't necessarily mean they don't have that, as far as like some of the infections and pathogens, because many don't show up in tests. So just keep that in mind. Amanda, you're so welcome. My pleasure. I'm so happy you're here. Mold was one thing I also need to help him detox from. The water damage we had happened over his diagnosis. Yeah, and mold is a very, very big and serious issue. And there are a lot of adults, that even people that don't have autism, are having severe depression, getting put on SSRI, depression drugs. People who can't think at all, have extreme fatigue, and they just get it diagnosed with chronic fatigue. These can be from mold biotoxins. It can be from Lyme, parasites, all of these as well. But these underlying toxins, you've got to get them worked with. So you've got to eradicate the mold from your home. Absolutely. Will it help to start the supplements in the program? Yes, just like dietary things I just said. The supplements that we start with are going to start binding to some of those toxins and help the body to dispel them, because right now it can't really excrete them. And it's creating more and more of a cascade of inflammation in the body. When anybody with or without autism, get rid of these symptoms, then they're not needing these drugs anymore. They're feeling good. They're healthy, because mold does actually damage the brain, the mycotoxins. And so, but the good news is, before that scares you, that it can be reversed. The damage can be reversed, but it is very, very important that you work on it safely. And a lot of people don't know how to work with it accurately, because mold is very specific. We get this thing that I mentioned in day 2 of the event about MARCoNS, that antibiotic resistant nasal infection, that's staph infection that comes from mold mycotoxins, allowing that to grow. There are so many things that it causes. So we absolutely want to eradicate the problem so there's not continued exposure. I talked about the ERMI test from Mycometrics, and how you can test your own home. You order it online, the test, you do it, it's a simple test you do at home. And then when you mail it back, they email you your results, and you can even get a 30-minute consultation with the purchase of your ERMI test. And that's Mycometrics, MYCO metrics.com, and the ERMI test, ERMI, it's an acronym. But, that's one place to begin. But if there's mold exposure, you want a professional who does eradicate it. And I know it's expensive. I've been through it myself. You have to get a specialist that comes in and really takes it out clearly and completely. It can't just be like, oh, we scrub the walls with bleach. That doesn't work. So you have to really take care of it. I don't do any recommendations for testing offhand. There are different ones, but I leave that to you, because it's not something that I find to be as accurate as I want it to be. If there are things like we're testing for you know, like copper or zinc and potassium or something like that. There's urine tests. Most of them are pretty easy to do, and most are pretty accurate too. So, things like that. But we're going to cover everything in the program, so you don't really have to go, oh, does my child have a methylation issue? Well, I can tell you, yes, they do. Do they have candida growth? Yes, they do. Do they have heavy metal toxins? Yes, they do. You don't need to go spend a bunch of money on those tests that are expensive, which also may not be accurate. So we're going to cover it again naturally and safely. So everything we do only helps to the whole body and the immune system regulation. Judy, if you start month to month, can you switch to a year later? It's a month, it's a year initial commitment, because this takes time, and I want you to get real results, because I don't want somebody coming in for a month and then just quitting, or I can't do this, or it's not a time thing, so that there's no excuses around I just don't have the time, because it doesn't take a lot of time, and I don't want you to think that it has to. Don't overthink it. Keep it very simple in your mind, one step at a time. But again, you want to be very thorough. You've seen multiple questions. Even here, you see that you're dealing with the same thing everybody else is. You've got dietary needs. You've got foundational issues and toxin binders and toxin pathways to cover. You have proper detoxification and proper eradication of pathogens and infections. This isn't something you're going to do in a month or two. And so that is why, and I release the entire program up front. So you have access to everything up front. And I don't want you jumping ahead to something you're going to do down further that you don't even need to do for months. The reason I release everything at once to have it available is that, and that's another reason why the commitment is there, is that I want to make sure that you are starting in the beginning of the sequence and following it in the sequential order, one thing at a time. So you have the time that you'll need to do it. Amanda, you're recovering from mold already. Yeah, so a lot of people are. I mentioned it was 29% of the world has a genetic defect that actually just doesn't allow the body to dispel toxins from mold when we're exposed to water-damaged buildings. So what does that mean? It means that genetically, mom or dad or both has it and has passed it on also to our child. So we have to definitely take care of ourselves. I have the susceptibility, and so does my husband. So our kids got a double whammy. And so basically, you don't have to even, again, go have a bunch of testing. Basically, I would say save your money on the tests. And if I'd known about what I know about for this program back then, I could have saved us years of time and expense working on other things that didn't work and trying to figure it out myself too back then. But so that is why I always say the program is available to you for your whole family. I don't charge extra for other people in it, which I know most people everywhere else do. I want your whole family to get healthy, and we do pass infections around from one to one another. So you don't want to share a glass of water. You don't want to share a fork and food. Saliva is going to pass from one person to another. So you really want to make sure that you are all getting healthy, and that everybody is getting worked with, because we're going to be healthier for our kids. I mean, if you've got mold biotoxins, Amanda, I'm sure you're feeling lethargic. You probably aren't thinking clearly. You're a little out of sorts. Mold is also a multi-systemic infection. So you can have very, very common to have hormonal problems when there is the mold biotoxin issue, gut problems, and again, all of these things you're seeing in the chat. Again, this is how it's so similar for so many people. It's like, some people will say, I've done diet and detox for a long time, Kara, but my child's gut just won't get better. It's because things weren't worked with properly. They still have underlying infections and pathogens. It's important that everybody in the household gets worked with and properly. So do it with your child for sure, because you want to be the best that you can be for them. You're not feeling well, I'm sure. So if I have a gene that doesn't have a detox mold, could my son have the gene? Okay, I just covered that. Yes. It's a symptom of autism and one of the many, right? So we work with the underlying causes that cause the symptoms, right? And all of them. So we don't fall short of results. Amelie, that makes so much sense. Thank you. I have been putting it off because I don't want to do that to her. Okay. And do you think Tylenol could have contributed to the aggression of my daughter? So we're not going to probably go down that Tylenol rabbit hole right now, but there is some truth to that. I mean, it damages, affects the liver. There's a lot to it, and I'm not going to go into that right now. But these types of things can have an impact. Are they the only reason? Likely not. You see, the reasons are multiple, that we've discussed in all of these. All four stages need to be covered because it's never just one thing. It's multiple things, and that's why we need to be all thorough. And so, Amanda, yes, all the things you mentioned, as well as an MS diagnosis. And do we wonder in the program? I'm not going to get into it right now. I have something that is tremendous for MS, as well as other ailments that we all have. And it's a newer technology that I'm utilizing. I talked about it in depth in my podcast 225, if you want to look at it. But it's in the program now as a piece that we utilize because it is so effective in helping the body, but also we're having I have testimonials on people who have had MS. The other thing with MS is it MS or is it a symptom of underlying toxins and pathogens and other things? And what has broken down the body to create the MS itself, right? So again, getting back to the core causes, working with those. So that's where I would say that this could be something you could do alongside your child too. All right, we have gone an hour. Wow, you guys have been fabulous. Really, thank you so much for being here, for everything you're doing for your children. And please join the program before it's too late. I would like to see you help you effectively in the program so you have everything you need. You have all the answers you need. You have the sequential order. You have my support, and we can work together so that you get those best results for your child so they can live their absolute best life possible. And they absolutely deserve this. And it's to, it helped to save you time and expense and make life much, much simpler and easier for you in the long run, but ultimately get your child to their best results possible and live to their full potential. And that's really what we really want for everybody. So thank you so much for being here, everybody. You're wonderful. You're welcome. It's my pleasure to be here and be able to share these resources with you. And it's why I created this program for you, to help you as a parent of a child with autism, because I have lived through it myself. I know the challenges physically, financially, emotionally. I know what it's like to go through it. It affects the whole family. And I'm here to give you answers and resources that can help you. So please join. Go to naturallyrecoveringautism.com/go and join the program now. And I will see you on the inside. All right. Take care. Have a great day.